Terima kasih kepada Bapak Hari Kurniawan selaku Kaprodi Teknik Arsitektur 2018, Teknik Arsitektur yang telah hadir dalam acara siang hari ini. Selamat datang juga kepada Bapak Ikaputra selaku Chairman of Center for Urban Design and Vocabulary. And we would like to welcome Mr. Yoshihiko Kawauchi, PhD as Director of Accessibility Lab, Access Consultant Architect. Selamat siang. Dan selamat datang juga kepada Bapak Ibu dosen yang juga hadir dalam webinar siang hari ini dan tentunya seluruh peserta webinar. Seperti yang sudah kita ketahui bahwa hari ini kita akan bersama-sama mendengarkan sebuah topik yang sangat penting dalam dunia arsitektur, yaitu Architecture for Humanity yang akan disampaikan oleh Bapak Yoshihiko Kawauchi dan akan dibuka dengan paparan dari Bapak Ikaputra. Dan selama sesi berlangsung, kita akan ditemani oleh Ibu Nabila Afif sebagai moderator dari sesi pemaparan materi hingga diskusi di akhir nanti. Nah, bagi peserta webinar siang hari ini, saya ingatkan untuk mematikan mikrofon selama sesi presentasi berlangsung dan apabila ada pertanyaan di tengah-tengah sesi, silakan boleh ditulis di kolom komentar dan feel free ya untuk bertanya baik dalam bahasa Indonesia maupun bahasa Inggris atau mungkin ada yang mau bertanya dengan bahasa Jepang juga boleh. Pertanyaannya nanti akan dibacakan dan selanjutnya didiskusikan pada sesi diskusi setelah kedua pembicara selesai memaparkan materinya dan akan dipandu oleh Bu Bila. Halo Bu Bila, selamat siang. Nah, ketika sesi diskusi atau tanya jawab nanti, apabila berkenan, kami mempersilakan peserta untuk menyalakan kamera dan mikrofon setelah seksi diskusi dan tanya jawab selesai. Kami juga meminta semua peserta untuk menyalakan kamera karena akan ada sesi foto bersama. Sebelum memulai acara pada siang hari ini, saya akan mempersilakan Pak Hari Kurniawan selaku Kaprodi untuk menyampaikan pengantar tentang webinar siang hari ini. Pak Hari, selamat siang.
Ya, selamat siang, Patu.
Ya,
terima
sehat,
kasih,
Pak.
Patu.
Ya,
Alhamdulillah
silakan,
sehat.
Pak Hari.
Ya, terima kasih, Patu, untuk waktunya. Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, Ikaputra Sensei, Kawauchi Sensei, Bu Nabila, and others. There's also lectures, I think, and also some many students actually from our UGM University and also from others university. Oke, selamat siang semua. Senang sekali kami menyambut teman-teman semua di sini, and also great pleasure for us to welcoming Kawauchi Sensei to our first webinar in Architecture for Humanity webinar series. Saya selaku Ketua Program Studi Sarjana Arsitektur, mungkin karena ini sesi yang pertama ingin sedikit memberi pengantar tentang seri ini, webinar seri. Jadi ini bukan yang pertama dan terakhir. Setelah ini kita akan banyak melakukan sesi-sesi terkait Architecture for Humanity. Ini terkait juga dengan prodi arsitektur UGM, termasuk yang prodi-prodi awal ya, yang awal di bidang arsitektur yang sehingga punya pengalaman cukup banyak di bidang-bidang terkait Architecture for Humanity gitu. Nah, di salah satu kegiatan tentu saja tanggung jawab dari program studi adalah memberikan pendidikan kepada mahasiswanya dan masyarakat terkait dengan Architecture for Humanity, sehingga visi dari prodi sendiri menjadi Center of Excellence dari Architecture for Humanity ini. Nah, itu tujuan kami mengadakan webinar ini ya. Jadi mendiseminasikan pengetahuan, pengalaman, juga membangun networking yang lebih besar gitu dengan teman-teman yang ada di sini ya, mahasiswa yang ada di sini, dosen-dosen yang hadir di seri-seri dari sesi-sesi dari webinar ini, serta dengan pembicara-pembicara yang hadir gitu. Ya, itu sedikit. Nanti setelah ini bagi teman-teman yang UGM bisa selalu update melalui Facebook-nya pengajaran maupun informasi-informasi dari IG-nya KMTA. Untuk teman-teman yang di luar UGM juga bisa update nanti melalui Instagram-nya KMTA ya. Karena kita punya banyak aktivitas, nanti di tanggal 9 April kita juga punya Arsi Lecture yang mengundang Pak Gede Kresna ya, arsitek dari Bali. Sehingga silahkan selalu follow informasi dari kami. Ya, selamat menikmati dan belajar banyak dari webinar kali ini. Ya, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Silakan Pak Tu. Terima kasih.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Pak Heri untuk pengantar pada webinar siang hari ini. Nah, untuk mempersingkat waktu ya, mungkin kita langsung aja nih say hi sama Bu Bila. Halo Bu Bila.
Halo Patu dan teman-teman semua.
Iya, jadi teman-teman peserta mungkin seperti yang udah saya sampaikan tadi bahwa siang ini kita akan ditemani oleh Bu Bila selaku mediator. Halo, selaku moderator pada siang hari ini. Silahkan Bu Bila untuk take a session.
Oke, Patu. Terima kasih, Patu.
Ya.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Kawauchi Sensei and Ikaputra Sensei. I'm Nabila, and I will be the moderator for our discussion session this afternoon. Before we start, I need to inform to you and all of the participants that present in this room that I will be mainly using Bahasa Indonesia or Indonesian language throughout the session this afternoon, as I have been told that 100% of our register comes from Indonesia. So we have approximately more than 300 register for this afternoon session. So it's really a huge crowd, and I'm really excited to be in this session with you all. We will also begin this main session by listening to the prologue that will be delivered by Ikaputra Sensei. We will listen directly to the presentation that will be delivered by Kawauchi Sensei. Before the start of each session, I will give brief introduction about the profile of our presenter so everyone can get to know Ikaputra Sensei and Kawauchi Sensei better. Following the presentation, then we will have discussion session where the audience can ask questions to both Ikaputra Sensei and Kawauchi Sensei, and all the questions can be delivered directly in English, or if anyone feels more comfortable to deliver their question in Indonesia, then I will be happy to translate it to English for Kawauchi Sensei, or Ikaputra Sensei can also help me to translate it to Japanese language. Okay, so without further ado, now that everything has been settled, let's begin the main session. Pertama-tama saya akan bacakan dulu profil dari Ikaputra Sensei. Jadi Ikaputra Sensei atau yang akrab kita kenal sebagai Pak Ikaputra, mestinya sebagian dari teman-teman sudah kenal ya. Beliau ini adalah pengajar dan peneliti di program studi arsitektur Universitas Gadjah Mada, serta seorang arsitek profesional yang banyak bergelut di bidang aksesibilitas serta universal design. Kontribusi dari Ikaputra Sensei bukan hanya dalam pengembangan kegiatan-kegiatan yang mempromosikan pentingnya universal design, namun juga dalam bentuk pengembangan desain dan produk sejak tahun 1997. Ikaputra Sensei juga terlibat dalam penyusunan Keputusan Menteri Pekerjaan Umum Republik Indonesia nomor 468 tahun 1998 tentang persyaratan teknis aksesibilitas pada bangunan umum dan lingkungan. Serta pada tahun 1999, beliau juga mengembangkan mata kuliah aksesibilitas di program studi arsitektur UGM. Dan tidak berhenti di situ saja, pada tahun 2000-an, Ikaputra Sensei mengembangkan pilot project di Malioboro yang merupakan pilot project aksesibilitas pertama di Indonesia bersama dengan mahasiswa prodi arsitektur dan komunitas difabel. Sejak momen tersebut hingga saat ini, Ikaputra Sensei masih aktif terlibat dalam pengembangan berbagai program edukasi mengenai universal design dan juga kebencanaan. Baik, begitu untuk perkenalan singkat terkait Ikaputra Sensei dan prestasi serta pencapaian beliau di bidang universal design. Untuk selanjutnya kami persilahkan Ikaputra Sensei untuk memberikan prolog dengan durasi kurang lebih 15 menit. Kami persilahkan.
Arigato Nabila Sensei, Kawauchi Sensei, hontou ni arigato. Because you are very busy and give a time to our Indonesian participants today, and I hope let me share for my presentations, and yeah. Do you have already my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. Yeah. Actually, have what we call a Center for Urban Design and Difabilities. Universal Design and Difabilities. And from 1998 to 2000 years. But I just want to explain in Indonesia because Nabila asked me to use Indonesia. Jadi mungkin kenapa prolog ini ada, sebenarnya prolog ini menunjukkan satu kompleks. Jadi CUDD sudah 20 tahun karena 98 kita mulai, walaupun sebenarnya kita mulai 97 ya diskusinya, tapi CUDD ini sebenarnya mempunyai prinsip yang sederhana karena kita mulai dari nol, tidak punya uang, tidak punya pengetahuan, tidak punya network, tidak punya, tapi adanya adalah keluhan-keluhan dari teman-teman yang masuk ke sipil dan arsitektur dan sipil. Sehingga pada waktu ketua jurusannya meminta beberapa, waktu itu saya masih muda, beberapa dosen muda untuk memulai, dan akhirnya kita berpikir ini urusan besar banget ini namanya. Makanya kita selalu berpikir kalau kita mulai pada waktu itu, kita berpikir sangat kayaknya nggak bisa selesai deh, karena jalan tidak akses, RAM ini, kemudian diskriminasi di mana-mana, orang difabel tidak bisa keluar dan sebagainya. Tapi ketika kita berpikir ini adalah hal yang sangat humanis, kalau kita kemudian dekat dengan orang tua kita yang kebetulan lansia dan pakai kursi roda, baru kita mengatakan ini penting. Tapi kalau enggak, lupa gitu kan. Nah, tapi pada waktu kita berpikir sesuatu yang sangat besar, itu kita juga sadar bahwa mulai dengan yang kecil dulu deh. Pokoknya sesuatu yang konkret. Dan tidak perlu ditunda lagi karena kecil kan kita tunda. Nah, ini menjadi satu prinsip awal sekali bahwa setelah kita beri konsep yang besar untuk akses ke seluruh lingkungan di Indonesia, lalu kita berpikir mulai dari mana ya? Mulai dari yang kecil. Dan kita berpikir bertindak sekarang juga. Tapi ini karena terus-menerus akhirnya nanti kita bisa lihat how far apa yang kita lakukan dari nol itu. Sebenarnya masalah pada waktu kita mulai itu ada 4. Ada masalah aturan hukumnya enggak, kita ada banyak difabel, ada penyandang cacat, ada lansia dan sebagainya. Kemudian masalah teknis juga kita tidak pernah kenal apa itu RAM, apalagi guiding block yang untuk tunanetra. Semua tidak pernah tahu itu, yang tahu mungkin yang pernah ke Jepang dan sebagainya. Padahal kita itu hanya tahunya dosen gitu, akademik, educational aspek ini yang kita ini, tapi kita dituntut di apa istilahnya curhati semua orang itu tidak hanya mengenai akademik atau educational aspek. Sehingga kita betul-betul menjadi relawan terkait dengan 4 aspek itu. Tahun 2006 kita kena bencana, ternyata difabelnya tambah banyak, penyandang cacatnya tambah banyak. Lalu kita bicara mengenai disaster and difabel. Itu menjadi salah satu yang, nah apa namanya, kalau kita petakan secara singkat sebenarnya, memang awalnya sebelum ada CUDD itu legal aspek itu menjadi sangat krusial karena orang DPR, pemerintah nggak ada hukumnya, ngapain saya bikin anggaran kan? Maka legal aspek itu kita kembangkan lebih dulu dari nol, dari diskusi-diskusi kecil dengan Prof. Hari, Prof. Sani dan sebagainya. Lalu memunculkanlah kemudian di tahun 98 itu juga kita bicara mengenai hukum dan bicara mengenai Kepmen 48 itu dalam waktu 1 tahun kita bisa mengapproach PU dan kerjasama dengan kementerian dan menghasilkan satu peraturan perundangan pertama sekali mengenai bangunan dan lingkungan yang aksesibel. Tapi kemudian dari dinas sosial dan sebagainya itu kemudian membantu dan kita berhenti di situ karena sudah ada yang nangani setelah itu. Dan masalah technical aspek bicara itu paling banyak juga dari tahun 98, 2008 pilot project Malioboro itu pilot project pertama yang saya tahu terkait dengan Aksesibilitas dan tidak ada uangnya awalnya dari urunan gitu, dari patungan. Kemudian lebih parah lagi ternyata sosial aspek, sudah ada fasilitasnya tidak dipakai dan sebagainya. Kita perlu kalau akademik dari awal kita di backup oleh NUN, oleh UNSCAP untuk membuat mata kuliah yang Pak Hari sekarang banyak pegang, yaitu Aksesibilitas lingkungan, yang sebenarnya juga memicu semangat beberapa program yang dimulai dari mahasiswa. Jadi bukan dari dosennya saja, tapi mahasiswa. Nah, baru kemudian pada tahun 98 sampai 2009 itu kita berubah, kita bantu menyilang, jadi dari mahasiswa membantu proyek pilot project yang tidak ada biayanya tadi, kemudian ikut mempromosikan karena sosial aspek penting, lalu kemudian banyak sekali kita bergerak di sana dari mata kuliah aksesibilitas lingkungan, dan kemudian muncullah disaster. Sebenarnya sudah mulai government, pemerintah Pemda maupun pemerintah pusat itu sudah mengambil alih terutama legal aspek, technical aspek, bahkan social aspek, sehingga akhirnya kita hanya membackup saja, tapi kita tidak ikut menjadi relawan di sana. Nah, inilah kemudian mengerucut sehingga pada tahun 2012 saya tidak lagi bicara urban design, tapi balik ke fokus saya menjadi urban designer. Maka Center for Urban Design ini sebenarnya tidak hanya saya, itu banyak teman-teman, ada kalau waktu Universitas ada Pak Iko, ada Pak Hari Kurniawan juga, Pak Hari Kurniawan juga sampai sekarang ada Budiah Tisari, ada Pak Sigit yang sangat senior yang membuat CUDD itu ada, dan sebagainya. Sehingga kemudian dari tahun 2012 kita sudah mulai fokus ke academic education aspek, terutama lingkungan yang accessible. Nah, contoh-contohnya ini contoh saja ketika kita mulai dari nol, selalu kita bicara pioneering action. Pioneering action itu adalah rintisan, mulai dari legal aspek itu rintisannya dari CUDD ini. Dari teman-teman dosen waktu itu banyak yang masih muda gitu kan, kemudian juga ditindaklanjuti oleh kemudian pemerintah. Juga sampai perdanya dan sebagainya ini follow up actionnya banyak, tapi kemudian bukan kita lagi. Dan ini adalah semua dimulai dari CUDD. Nah, ini salah satu yang menarik. Ini masalah teknis yang pada waktu itu kita membuat RAM terpanjang ya di dunia, mungkin lebih dari 30 meter, karena kita itu diminta untuk pameran mengenai isu-isu penyandang cacat, tetapi diberi gratis di Benteng Frederiksburg di lantai 2. Maka mahasiswa yang terlibat pada waktu di mata kuliah tersebut, Pak Ika, saya carikan dana dan dengan bentuk yang paling murah ya Pak. Kemudian mereka membuat semacam instalasi seni, tetapi sebenarnya ini adalah protes yang halus kepada Benteng Frederiksburg. Kenapa untuk pameran yang penyandang cacat hadir kok dikasih lantai 2? Nah, karena kita dikasih gratis kan nggak bisa protes. Ini menurut saya sangat legendaris video ini, karena ini yang menciptakan mahasiswa pada waktu itu. Kemudian kalau kita lanjut lagi, guiding block itu salah satu yang fenomenal, karena pada waktu itu juga lagi-lagi prototipnya mahasiswa juga yang membuat, karena melihat Capman 408 seperti itu, mereka mencetak pakai kayu, kemudian kita carikan dana dan akhirnya hanya 200 meter kita pilot project, dan dana itu adalah juga dana yang dari nol juga kita urunan dengan beberapa orang, dan jadilah ini. Kemudian Profesor Tobi Mutis yang juga sangat concern dengan kemanusiaan di Trisakti juga ikut mempromosikan di Jakarta, dan pada akhirnya kita paham tidak gampang barang baru itu masih tackle seperti itu, sehingga lagi-lagi tangan mahasiswa, Pak Ika, yuk kita bikin Sunday morning gathering forward untuk membuat satu promosi bahwa guiding block ini adalah satu guide untuk tunanetra. Salah satu yang meter kita buat satu dan kiri dan kanan dan sebagainya. Kemudian walaupun ini sering diprotes oleh tunanetra sendiri, katanya cara jalannya salah gitu kan. Tapi kita waktu itu tidak terlalu peduli karena memang yang paling penting adalah semua orang tahu bahwa ini adalah tunanetra. Banyak dosen-dosen yang hadir, kalau tidak salah di sini ada Pak Jatmiko ahli lighting waktu itu masih support, ini ketua jurusan kami Pak Santoso juga ikut hadir. Jadi semua hadir dengan kesukacitaan karena ingin membantu masyarakat yang membutuhkan, salah satu mempromosikan penyandang cacat ini. Nah, ini tidak bisa terjadi kalau tidak ada mahasiswa, tidak akan sih kalau tidak ada semangat dan motivasi ide-ide mahasiswa. Jadi apa yang kita lakukan ini adalah semua di bidang sosial aspek. Jadi tidak lagi mahasiswa arsitektur bicara mengenai teknis saja, ya, tapi teknis plus. Nah ini satu contoh. Kemudian kita baru 98 itu kita urunan untuk buat pilot project pertama, dan kemudian dapat award dari UNSCAP nomor 2 kalau nggak salah di seluruh Asia Pasifik. Kemudian hampir 20 tahun kemudian, 18 tahun kemudian Malioboro berubah dan kami juga dilibatkan menjadi sekarang ini menjadi satu kawasan yang sangat pedestrian friendly. Kalau kita bisa lihat ini proses panjang dari perintisan, kemudian dari bagaimana mahasiswa kita bangun bersama-sama mengenai pengetahuannya, dan kemudian jadilah Defable Walkway will finish in 3 days tadi. Kemudian kalau kita memahami ternyata sudah menyeluruh ke Indonesia, ada di Magelang, Jemberana, Ridwan Kamil juga melakukan. Sebelum ini sebenarnya ITB di Jakarta di Jalan Tamrin itu Pak Hari kalau nggak salah, Pak Hari Kurniawan yang di kontak untuk membantu teman-teman ITB membuat di Jalan Tamrin, dan Profesor Wijaya waktu itu juga mengontak, sehingga nomor 2 setelah Jogja itu Jalan Tamrin yang dihandle oleh teman-teman ITB. Tapi sekarang sudah Yogyakarta pilot project dilupakan, tapi semua orang ingat akan jalur pedestrian harus memiliki syarat untuk tunanetra. Nah, Malioboro sekarang berubah total, dan menurut saya ini sudah luar biasa, dan we are happy for that. Dan ini salah satu bagian dari kenapa CUDD dulu berkembang dan sekarang sudah berubah. Kira-kira demikian Mbak Nabila, mohon maaf. Dan saat ini kami mohon Kawauchi Sensei, Mata Yoroshiku onegaishimasu for Universal Design topic. Thank you very much for your attention.
Terima kasih Bapak Ikaputra Sensei.
Berapa menit tadi?
Nggak nyampe 15, Pak.
Alhamdulillah, biar untuk Profesor. I'm not until 15 minutes, Kawauchi Sensei. You can use the word. Yeah.
Oke, Ikaputra Sensei, prolognya sangat mencerahkan ya untuk kita dan menyadarkan kita kalau ternyata memang perjalanannya panjang ya untuk memperjuangkan accessible design, dan itu dilakukan secara bergandengan tangan antara akademisi profesional dan juga mahasiswa. Sehingga mahasiswa-mahasiswa, teman-teman semua harapannya juga terinspirasi dari kisah yang perjuangan yang sudah diceritakan Ikaputra Sensei, bahwa kita harus peka tidak hanya masalah teknis tapi juga terkait sosial. Ya. Okay, so let's not waste any more time. Before we start the presentation from Kawauchi Sensei, I will read the profile of Kawauchi Sensei in Indonesian and then in English. Jadi Kawauchi Sensei atau Profesor Yoshihiko Kawauchi adalah Direktur dari Lab Aksesibilitas pada Akses Konsultan Arsitek. Beliau adalah pakar internasional di bidang Universal Design dan penasihat hukum bagi penyandang disabilitas di Jepang. Kawauchi Sensei berperan aktif dalam mempromosikan aksesibilitas dan desain universal dalam perencanaan bangunan dan komunitas yang dapat digunakan dengan mudah dan aman. Selain itu, beliau juga aktif mengembangkan kegiatan yang melibatkan penyandang disabilitas dalam rangka membentuk dan memperkuat perspektif hak dan martabat manusia melalui partisipasi sosial yang setara di masyarakat. Kawauchi Sensei memiliki kepercayaan bahwa dalam mempromosikan aksesibilitas dan universal design bisa dilakukan dengan mudah dan aman. Pada tahun 2000, Kawauchi Sensei memenangkan Ron Mays Design for the 21st Century Award, yang merupakan penghargaan bergengsi di bidang desain universal. Selain itu, Kawauchi Sensei juga telah menerbitkan banyak publikasi terkait dengan desain universal, seperti Universal Design, Reconsideration of Barrier-Free pada tahun 2001, Universal Design, Creating the System for Universal Design pada tahun 2007, dan yang terbaru berjudul Accessibility with No Dignity, Objections to Heart, Kindness, and Compassion pada tahun 2021. Kawauchi Sensei or Professor Yoshihiko Kawauchi is the Director of Accessibility Lab of the Access Consultant Architect. He is an international expert of universal design and a legal advocacy for people with disabilities in Japan. Kawauchi Sensei plays an active role in promoting accessibility and universal design in building and community planning that can be easy and safe for anyone to use. In addition, he also actively develops activities that involve people with disabilities to form and strengthen the perspective of human rights and dignity through equal social participation in society. In 2000, Kawauchi Sensei won a Ron Mace Designing for the 21st Century Award, which is a very prestigious award in the field of universal design. Furthermore, he also published numerous publications related to universal design, such as Universal Design, Reconsideration of Barrier-Free in 2001, Universal Design, Creating the System for Universal Design in 2007, and the latest one is Accessibility with No Dignity, Objections to Heart, Kindness, and Compassion in 2021. What an amazing accomplishment, Kawauchi Sensei. Okay, now that everyone already know our presenter better, let us begin your presentation, Sensei, for approximately 1 hour. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Nabila. So let me start my presentation. Okay, right now, Japan, the cherry blossom has started to bloom. So it's gonna be a very beautiful season. If you have a time, please come to Japan at the end of March. It's a very beautiful season. Anyway, today I'm going to tell you about the universal design in Japan. Let me introduce myself briefly. I'm now 67 years old, and when I got an injury when I was 19 years old, and when I was 36 years old, I have a chance to live in the United States for 1 year, and I also had a chance to meet Ron Mace at that time. Ron Mace is a legend of universal design. And since I'm using a wheelchair, accessibility is very important. But I'd like to ask you why accessibility is important. Let me talk about the stairs. Stairs are not accessible for wheelchair, but if there were no stairs in the buildings, people would have no access to upstairs. That means stairs can divide people into two groups. One is people who can go upstairs, and the other is people who cannot go upstairs. In that sense, stairs are setting to generate a discrimination among people. Then next question. Everybody says discrimination is bad, but why discrimination is unacceptable? Because it harms dignity as a human. Accessibility is very important to respect the dignity and create equal society for all. So as a short conclusion, I would like to say accessibility is for the dignity. When you design something, please do not forget accessibility is for the dignity. This is the entrance of a restaurant. There is only stairs, so wheelchair users cannot get into this restaurant. But I'd like to ask you, are only wheelchair users victims of stairs? This is stairs in the station. The platform, from this platform, the train to go international airport departs. And the young man, the woman is climbing up the stairs. I think they are just married and going to their honeymoon. Right now, young man is carrying up very heavy 2 bags, and woman is carrying up lightweight 2 bags. Right now, man must be very exhausted. It's a very hard work. If a man passes heavy bags to a woman, difficulties will also transfer to a woman. And now, then, a young man get very easy, but women will have a very hard work. When they finish the stairs, their troubles will finish too. So difficulties are influenced by 3 elements. One is the ability, whether or not that person is muscular. 2 is the action, whether or not they are carrying heavy bags or lightweight bags. Then environment. Are the stairs well designed? Is there an elevator? As a designer, I don't want to say that you shouldn't use here or you are not allowed to do that. Therefore, what we can do among the 3 elements is only one thing: change environments. This pregnant woman is using the stairs with holding a guide rail and walking down very carefully. This is her effort to use this environment. A mother pushing a baby carriage came up to the stairs, but there's no accessibility features. So she lifted up the baby carriage and started to walk down the stairs. However, because of the baby carriage, she cannot check her toe. So she has a very high risk of tumbling down. This girl sprained her ankle and using crutches, she is going downstairs carefully with holding a guide rail. This woman is going upstairs with pulling up a big basket full of trash. It is a very hard work. This old woman cannot go upstairs with her cart, so the people just passed by helped her. Those photos tells me not only people with disabilities, but also everybody has troubles in inaccessible environments. It seems that the environments built around us is often difficult to use. In order to adjust the built environments, people are doing various things. People are making a lot of effort to adjust the built environment. There are many things that cannot be achieved with personal effort alone. Accessibility is an essential tool to guarantee equal social participation for not only people with disabilities, but also for everybody. A conventional society needs to be changed to accept various people because conventional society did not think about the variety of people. This is a social issue, so it should not be solved, not personally, but socially. I'm sorry, it should be solved not personally, but socially. So we regard accessibility as a way of social solution. Then universal design. This is a person on the left is a Ron Mace. He conducted polio when he was a child, and since then he was using a wheelchair. He is an architect and a product designer in North Carolina. He graduated at North Carolina State University, and he was running his office. but passed away in 1998. And the woman on his right is a Lockhart Ron's wife, and she passed away in 1991. This photo was taken in 1990, so at that time, I think Lockhart has already had a cancer in her body. This is photos. Those are photos I met Ron first. Please watch this transparent tube. Because of the polio, her lung function was very low. So he was always needed. He needed the oxygen anytime. So he is pulling a very long, transparent tube. But at that time, he was able to drive her car. And this is taken in 1998, just 1 month before his death. Actually, it was a sudden death. In 1998, he was not able to drive a car, and he was using a public transportation. A lady on his right is Joy Weaver. After Lockhart's death, Ron was very disappointed, but fortunately, he was able to meet Joy Weaver and recovered. And then they got married. In USA 70th, they were making a special wheelchair accessible unit into private apartment buildings. But some accessible units were not bought. The owner tried to rent them to people who were not using wheelchair, but they were not popular. People complained that there were no kitchen cabinet because the owners have removed the kitchen cabinet for the knee space of wheelchair. And they installed the grab bar, but other people who have no disability has complained it is an obstacle. The apartment owner started to complain that why we, who has good wills and tried to support people with disabilities, needed to lose money. Mace thought that this was because they made special accessible units only for wheelchair users. Many people, including babies and elderly people, are living in apartments together. So he thought it may be possible to design units easy to be used not only by wheelchair users, but also by everybody. He named this idea universal design. It was mid-70s. And in 1985, he wrote the first article about universal design on the magazine named Designers West. This is a definition of universal design. Universal design is the design of a product and the environments to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible without the need for adaptation or specialized design. But please remember, at the beginning of this lecture, I said accessibility is for the dignity. So also universal design is for the dignity. Those are part of a slideshow that which Ron Mace's office has developed to educate universal design. For example, if the height of the hanger is changeable, it's easy for tall people or short people. This is a wash basin. Some people want to use it in chair. At that time, if they can open the door of the cabinet, it must be very easy to create a knee space. However, if the door opens widely outside, it disturbs smooth movement of people. So therefore, it would be more convenient if the door could be stored. This is a countertop of the kitchen. Some people want to use this cabinet but in a chair, sitting chair. If this cabinet was designed from the beginning to be removable easier, knee space is very easy to made. Mace called this kind of feature adaptable. Then it's easy to make a knee space here. However, the height of the counter, comfortable height of the counter is different to the tall standing people and the sitting people. So if the height of the countertop is changeable, it's much easier for everybody. Ron Mace called this kind of feature adjustable. This is a typical barrier-free in Japan. They made stairs and installed ramp for people who cannot use it, and put the international accessibility symbol, so-called the wheelchair symbol, to inform the location of accessibility feature. But my question is this the only way of building the entrance? This is another entrance. This is the entrance of the supermarket. There's no ramp, there's no international accessibility symbol, but everybody can use it. Why? Because they did not install the stairs from the beginning. We have a lot of accessibility guideline or accessibility book, and those guidelines or books says how to install ramps, but no book or no guideline says designer should think whether or not installing stairs at the entrance is necessary. So from the beginning, they removed this stairs. So therefore, they need to install nothing, but everybody can use it. Of course, I'm not saying every building can do that. For example, if the building is built in a low place and it get disaster, especially flood or something, at that time, they need to raise the floor height and they need to install the stairs. However, if they can build such kind of building at the top of the hill, flood will never occur. At that time, designer needed to think whether or not the stairs at the entrance is necessary. Then this entrance looks like good for wheelchair users, but it's not good for low vision people. Transparent glasses make low vision people confused a boundary of outside and inside, and they may hit their front head and they may break glasses. Also, the sashes are painted yellow. It is difficult to distinguish the location of sliding doors. This is an example of brightness and the color contrast. The color of the wall and the color of the elevator door is the same. So they paint the flame of the elevator door, making the brightness and the color contrast. Also, they put a round plate around the calling button. When blind people arrived here and touch the wall and slide his or her finger, they can touch this round plate. Then they feel something and start to detect the button, and they can easily find out the location of the button. And they painted this round board, brightness and color contrast. This is a photo of the park. Because they made no contrast, it's hard to distinguish where is the steps. Many built environments have poor usability, and unfortunately, many professionals, designers do not know it, so they repeat the same mistakes. We may be able to create a wonderful design if knowledge and the skills of professionals and the experience of and the wisdom of users are put together. So therefore, universal design emphasizes user participation. It is not just a matter of people with disabilities having difficulties in the built environment. It will be effective to utilize experience of various people into design. Universal design is designed for all, but we need to remind that is not one design for all. Sometimes it's hard to satisfy various needs with one solution. There is no ultimate one pen in a stationery store. If you go to stationery store, you can find out a various pen displayed on the shelf. And we users can choose one out of various pen in accordance with our needs. So choice is important. How can we provide various appropriate choices to users is critical. After getting choices, users themselves can choose the best one. It's difficult to solve all needs with one solution. Therefore, combination of various features by different means is the key of the universal design. For example, in this photo, they provide stairs, escalators, and elevators. When they provide choices to the users, the most important thing is at a glance. In order to tell users, you have various choices, that choices can be displayed at a glance. There is a criticism against the universal design. For all is just a dream. It is impossible. Yes, it is true. For example, some products put into the market at the beginning, the satisfactory of users is not so high. So the product start to be improved. Then satisfaction ratio is getting better and better. However, getting various experience, the user's needs is going severer and severer. So goal is going higher and higher. So therefore, the quality of design is getting better and better and getting very close to the goal, but it will never reach the goal. It will never 100% satisfaction. However, getting close is very important. So therefore, Ron Mace put a very important phrase into his definition. To the greatest extent possible. Ron knew that 100% is impossible. However, making the effort to the greatest extent possible is very important. By the way, this photo is taken only 1 week before his death. Just 1 week before his death, we had an international conference in Long Island, New York. And at that time, he had no trouble. But 1 week after, he had passed away. In order to reach the goal, to be usable by all people to the greatest extent possible, we believe that the spiral up is important. Spiral up is a concept developed in Japan by continuous improvement. For example, there is some project, various people gathers and start to discuss the purpose of this project or goal of this project. Then they will do it. Usually, if for example, construction is finished, the project will be finished. However, the important thing of spiral up is post-occupancy evaluation. Then, if they find a problem, they need to improve. This circle will be happened in project 1. However, after finishing project 1, they will start to project 2. At that time, if they can transmit the information of project 1 to project 2, project 2 must be better than the project 1. If we can continue those efforts, the design quality of entire society will be more improved gradually. Another drawing, project 1. We will start the concept design, then we'll do a construction. After that, we need to do a post-occupancy evaluation, and the information we got by this evaluation process should be put into project 2. Then project 2 do the same procedure. Then after finishing the project 2, the information got in project 2 should be put into project 3. If we continue this kind of effort, project 2 is better than project 1. Project 3 will be better than project 2. This kind of change is called spiral up, and it will make endless and continuous improvement. I was planning to take a break, but I can continue. Please allow me to continue. So let me start about the challenges of universal design in Japan. In Japan, the role of government to proceed the universal design is very important. Aging is the most serious issue in Japan. They made the laws and ordinances regarding to universal design, especially Tokyo 2020 Olympic Paralympic Games have pushed the universal design forward. Today, I want to explain about some examples of airport. Their attempts are internationally acclaimed. Skytrack is evaluating airport. This is a list of Skytrack evaluation. Skytrack evaluation has very many categories. This is the World Airport Award, PRM, and accessibility features category. PRM is a passenger with reduced mobility. The first place is Tokyo Haneda. Second place is Kansai Osaka. Third place is Tokyo Narita. Fourth is Singapore Changi. Next is Incheon Seoul. And the sixth place is Centaurea Nagoya. 7 is Hong Kong, 8 is Taiwan, then 9 is Fukuoka. So 5 airports out of 10 international airports are Japanese. That means the airport accessibility in Japan is very highly evaluated. But I have a slight complaint about this ranking because we made Sapporo Airport based on the universal design concept, but it is not included in this list. However, Tokyo Haneda is also awarded World's Cleanest Airport. Kansai in Osaka is awarded World's Best Airport Staff. And Centaurea Nagoya, World's Best Regional Airport. The first challenge of the airport universal design started at Centaurea in Nagoya. Nagoya had an international expo in 2005, so they built a new airport based on the concept of universal design. And very interesting thing is a non-profit organization by people with disabilities named AJU has participated in this project as a professional universal design consultant. In June 2000, AJU formed a universal design study group, and then they set up 10 subcommittees for each issue from 2002 to the opening of the airport in 2005. So this 10 subcommittees has worked for 3 years. These subcommittees, they had many meetings with users, designers, businesses, and parts manufacturers. They discussed and made mock-ups. These subcommittees had 106 meetings in 3 years. This is a plan of airport. The interesting feature is the so-called access plaza. All passengers come to this airport by train, car, ferry, and of course airplane, gathers this access plaza, and then they go to wherever they want. The red arrow is a circulation of people. Left half is international, and the right half is a domestic. Very simple plan creates simple circulation. The most interesting feature of this airport is a restroom. This is an airport, so many passengers are pushing big baggage and having a trouble at small cubicle. Many variable things are packed in the bag, so they wanted to carry their bag into cubicle, but cubicle is very small. It's impossible. So therefore, we decided to make each cubicle bigger, and that is also available for user of a small wheelchair or people with baby strollers. We made a mock-up and checked. This is a mock-up. We invited various people and heard their needs, and decided the detail of the design. It looks like a real toilet, but this is also a mock-up, just a model. We invited also various people and asked them to check it. This is a drawing used for the mock-up. We are very anxious about the door because if door opens inward, it does not allow you to carry large baggage. Furthermore, if a person falls inside, the door will hit the person and cannot be rescued. However, if door opens outside, it will hit people walking outside, and we need to widen the width of the door or width of the aisle. So we consider the folding doors and other specially devised ones open outside, but it will not protrude too much on the aisle side. Therefore, we thought a folding door or special function door. So we wanted to know whether or not the space is usable for wheelchair, or this new function is easy to use, or this door does not stick out in the aisle. And because this is a folding door, we are very anxious whether or not this door pinch child's finger. Also, the biggest our concern was, do visually impaired people know the position of the key? People with visual impairment often act on the basis of their experience. The key to the toilet door is usually near the edge of the door, striking side. So they look for it, expecting it should be there. However, in the folding door, in many folding doors, the key is at the center of the door. So they cannot find it if you pay attention to the edge. In mock-up verification, we wanted to know if visually impaired people could find the location of the key. As a result of the verification, it was confirmed that even visually impaired people could find the position of the key. So we decided to adapt a folding door. Then we installed the L-shaped handrail on the wall side, and the other side we installed a flip-up handrail. Because this is a folding door, it can accept people with big suitcase, strollers, baby strollers, and of course, wheelchair is also usable in this cubicle. This is a plan of the regular toilet. We installed a powder corner. Powder corner is usually installed in the ladies' room to fix their makeup, I would say. This is a reconstruction place for their makeup. And usually wheelchair accessible cubicle is provided for left-handed and right-handed. And we also made a nursing room for the breastfeeding to the babies and changing the diaper place. Those are photos of each cubicle. Each cubicle is big enough to carry the big baggage into, and this is designed for left-handed and right-handed. It allows user to choose depending on their needs, and it is also usable for people with hemiplegia. And all cubicles use folding doors, and all cubicles are large. And during the toilet verification, we found that people with hearing disabilities feel scared while they are in a cubicle because they cannot hear emergency announcements and they cannot detect the situation by looking at other people because they are in a cubicle, they are in a box. Therefore, we decided to attach a flashlight to the ceiling of each cubicle. This is a photo of experiment. Then finally, we install this flashlight. Usually it does not light, but in an emergency situation, it flashes. We chose a color that passes well in smoke. Some cubicles have children's toilet seats and signs on the doors. And also the shape of the key was difficult to decide. When considering whether various products can be used without using fingers, sometimes toilet key requires enough function of fingers, but users, some people cannot use their fingers. So in order to understand whether or not this design is usable for people who cannot use the finger, it can be roughly understood by looking at whether they can be used with the hand shape of rock or paper. That means hand shape of fist or opening hands, opening fingers. This is a photo of the circulation to the restaurant area on the fourth floor. They set the stairs, elevators, escalators at a glance to provide the options. In Japan, departure flow is green and the arrival flow is yellow. This is a guide color to guide the people's flow line, people's circulation. The ramp consists of a slope and a landing, but people with low vision and elderly people may not be able to see the difference well, so they are color coded. So at the landing place, they painted the different color so that they can find out this is a slope and this is a landing, this is a slope and this is a landing. This is a moving walkway. They put a green line or yellow circle. This is not for aesthetic. This is a very practical way. When the moving walkway is moving, this yellow mark or green line is also moves. And the people can understand how fast this walkway is moving. It prevents the accident. And also, we use the concept of accordance actively. This black line on the floor and light line on the ceiling teaches the expanse of space and the direction of walking to the passengers. Then those lines are broken in some place. This broken place tells passengers this is a place to change direction. In this photo, in a red circle, this is a place to turn right from the arrival lobby toward the access plaza. And they also put a hanging sign from the ceiling. This airport is called Centaurea. designers and equipment manufacturers and the users got together and discussed together many things for 3 years. Due to the participation of the group of persons with disabilities, AJU, as a consultant, many persons with disabilities from physical, hearing, visual, and intellectual disabilities were invited in this discussion. However, on the other hand, people with mental disorders and elderly people did not participate in the subcommittee. In that sense, post-occupancy evaluation by the parties, various people, is desired, but it has not been carried out. So let me explain next example. Haneda International Airport Terminal opened in 2010. Remember, Centauria Nagoya was opened in 2005, so we are able to use its experience into Haneda Airport. Haneda Airport is actually a very big airport, and the 2 buildings have already been built for the domestic purpose, and this 3rd building is built, new construction, for international purpose. The company operating this airport is called TIAT, TIAT. The plan started in 2006. And the Universal Design Committee was established, inviting various group of people as committee members. And they formed a working group in order to determine the needs and find a solution for a variety of potential users. They formed 3 different workshops: mobility group, visual group, hearing groups. Of course, variety of people are not covered by those 3 groups. So we had a hearing session with various people. 10 committee sessions and 38 workshop group sessions were held in 4 years. From the beginning, we needed to know the needs of other people. Understanding each other is a very important thing to make this project successful. This is a check of the floor pattern. We are very concerned about pop-up phenomena. If the floor is too dark, some people, especially low vision people and developmental people with developmental disability, feels this dark place like a hole. And if the floor is too bright, those people feels this part will be raised. So if the pattern is not appropriated, some people feel the floor is very dangerous. The floor is uneven. So in order to prevent this kind of phenomenon, we carefully checked the pattern of the floor. And if you come to Japan, you will find out we have installed guiding blocks for blind people everywhere in Japan. And inside of this airport, we also installed this guiding block from the public transportation stop to the entrance, to the receptionist. And this is a check by blind people, the material of the guiding block and the design of the guiding block. This is a effort to find the right combination, eye-friendly yet clearly visible, by changing the background of whiteness. Also, we have checked we got a check by people with color blindness. The standing right person is having a color blindness, and he is checking those two patterns, which one is easy to see. And also we built a toilet. This is also a mock-up, and we have checked the usability of the toilet. And we have developed a communication support board. Although it calls board, it's just a paper. A lot of icons are printed on this paper. And at the beginning, we have developed this paper for the people with hearing disability and developmental disability or intellectual disabilities who cannot speak, but who can make a communication by pointing those icons. And then after opening the airport, we found that this is also very popular for the foreigners who cannot speak Japanese or English. Elevator doors open widely so that people with trolleys can walk in or out smoothly. The mirror inside the elevator is very convenient for wheelchair and trolley when getting off backward. This is a passenger's boarding bridge. This is not a big bridge, but somehow I think this is a very great invention. They have successfully removed the gap, so there's no ramp here, and ditch of the both end of the aisle. So although the width is the same, it looks very spacious. Those are photos of urinal for children and adults. We made a back wall and the floor a little bit darker than the urinals, so that low vision people can find out the location of urinal easily. And we also use the wall mounted type. It is not touched to the floor, so it's very easy to clean the floor. This is very effective to maintain clean toilet with no smell. And this is a wheelchair accessible bathroom. Basically, this bathroom is for all gender in case the user and the assistant are of different gender. And in most cases, one room each for right-handed and left-handed are set next to each other. The room is big enough, and the feature is a bed for grown-up. Some people with severe disability cannot keep sitting on the toilet bowl. At that time, they can use this bed, changing clothes, or even evacuation process. They can do it by lying in the bed. Also, the biggest feature of this airport is a concierge. Of course, we have made a building accessible for everybody. However, still, something is not enough. At that time, the concierge will help the user's special needs. Those concierge, every concierge can speak more than 2 languages, and all of them has gotten training to accommodate various people. Also, another feature of this airport is the post-occupancy evaluation. This project itself is made by the national government, but practical operation is done private company. So in the contract between government and this private company says post-occupancy evaluation should be taken place once in every 2 years for 30 years. And the outcome are classified into short, mid, long-term issues, and improvement plans are set and announced on the website. Now I have introduced about Centaurea Nagoya in 2005 and Haneda in 2010. Now Narita Airport, another Tokyo airport, international airport, is renovating. Centaurea and Haneda was a new construction, but Narita is an existing building, and the project is a renovation. They are making a lot of effort to catch up and go beyond other advanced airports in terms of universal design. Also, facilities for Tokyo 2020 Olympic and Paralympic Games were designed by participation of various people. They set up accessibility workshop, and various people are invited as a committee member and made a detail of design. Okay, I want to finish my presentation. Please allow me to introduce my book. This is titled Universal Design. It is well sold in Japan. And I have many books. I have written many books, but I'm sorry, this is the only book written in English. And it is not a new book, but you can get it on the website. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Kawauchi Sensei. What an insightful presentation. I learned so many things by listening to your presentation, and you make me realize that there are many aspects to design that we often overlook in our everyday exercise. Okay, well, I have many questions myself, but actually when I see the chat box, we have already several questions, and I think we better use the time to answer the questions right away. Okay, so we have several questions. The first one is from Miss Yulia Ekaputri. I will firstly invite Miss Yulia to deliver the questions yourself if you wish.
Ibu Nabila, maybe you can translate my question to English. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Yulia have a question regarding the application of urban design, application of universal design in the context of architectural design, and what is the most important, or what is the biggest problem that you face in the application or operationalization of the design. One of the obstacles in universal design is the cost, that ramps need more space and cost to be made rather than stairs. So as an architect, how can we overcome these problems that is related to cost, space, and other technical aspects, especially when the project has very limited budget? So Kawauchi Sensei or Ikaputra Sensei, should we answer the question right away, or do you want to probably listen to several other questions first?
Okay, technical issue is not a problem because we can examine with a various way. Can I talk? Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay. As I've shown you, making a mock-up. Okay. Making a mock-up or exchange a lot with the specialist, technical issue can be solved. But the financial issue is actually, as you mentioned, is very serious. And the most serious thing is the time. It takes a long time to make a universal design committee and to make a mock-up or to decide the detail. It takes a long time. Also, because it takes a long time, the cost of design is higher than the conventional way. So how to get the cost of design is a critical issue, because usually cost is always getting a pressure to reduce the amount. So even though they say we are going to do it by universal design concept, it's very difficult to raise the cost of the design. Therefore, participation of government is very important. Government knows that more cost will be required and more time will be required. So the government can make a contract with designers or construction businesses with a little bit more expensive money. And I don't think every project can do the perfect thing. So only a big project can do that activities what I have introduced. And small project cannot do that because their money cap is very low and the time is very limited. So the things we learned through this big project should be opened and should be accessible for everybody, so that the small project participant will use the result what we have learned through this big project. So that is a practical way to expand the concept of universal design into a regular project.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, you were saying that cost and also time is important, and it's actually costs a lot more and also requires more time. Therefore, government should be included to emphasize on the good intention through official contract requirement. Is that correct?
Yeah, you are right. Because as I mentioned, only a big project can do various things. So big project is usually a national project. So therefore, participation with the national government is very important.
Okay, thank you Kawauchi Sensei. Jadi kalau menurut Kawauchi Sensei sebenarnya memang peran pemerintah itu sangat penting ya semuanya. Jadi memang beberapa proyek universal design terutama dalam skala besar itu membutuhkan lebih banyak waktu dan membutuhkan lebih banyak biaya, sehingga kalau bisa melibatkan pemerintah untuk emphasize kepentingan atau kebutuhan dari aplikasi universal design ini, maka requirement tersebut bisa diintegrate dalam official contract atau dokumen lain yang mengikat proyek tersebut. Okay, so we will move to the second question, or maybe Ikaputra Sensei would like to add something?
Maybe for Yulia Eka, asking what actually the most problem in architecture should be pay attention. I think there is a principle of the accessibility or the non-handicapping environment. I think from UNESCAP, there are three things very important. That is how people can do moving or mobility, so that architecture work can be reached. This is the first. The second one, meaning that you have to have a good access for the street, good access for the transportation and so on. The second one, when you have architecture, so you have to have accessible entrance. This is the most, if you have a really nice architecture, but people cannot entering, then the architecture cannot be considered as a good accessible architecture. The last one, actually, everything you design with use by people or user of the building should be also accessible. So that's why it's not all features in architecture design considered as universal design. So that I think Kawauchi Sensei have been explaining well, if not perfect yet. You have to make evaluation and then also maybe retrofit it so that it can be improved and compliant with the principle of human design. I think this is for Yulia, but I don't know for Yulia Rizky, if you don't have any space for RAM, then we're going into even more expensive using technology that is elevators or whatever. So there should be bargaining on that technology, or physically you have to need the space for that.
Thank you.
I think that one.
Ada poin yang sangat penting ya yang ditambahkan oleh Ikaputra Sensei, bahwa mau sebagus apa arsitekturnya, tapi pertama kita bisa melihat dulu dari entrance-nya. Itu mungkin checkpoint pertama ya Ikaputra Sensei ya. Bisa dimasukin dulu atau enggak nih buildingnya. Okay, then the second questions, we have question from Mr. Raihan Yusua. Mr. Raihan, would you like to deliver the questions yourself? Or should I read the question for you? Okay, I will read the questions for Mr. Raihan. So the question is, the universal design principle should not only be applied in public facilities, but even in residential projects. Is there any differences in considering the application of universal design in between that kind of projects, public facilities and residential projects? What kind of adjustment that needs to be done to apply in residential projects?
Let me make sure. Are you asking about the 7 principles?
Yeah, he was asking about the principles of universal design that usually applied in public facilities. How can we modify it so that it can be applicable in residential project? Is there any difference in the application? Okay. The reason today I did not mention about the 7 principles is because I'm not so much, I don't feel this is an important principle, because this is actually mainly thought about the building things. So it is not, it should not straightly applied to the product things, and they did not think about the service, universal design of the service, or universal design of the education. So therefore, you need to choose which part should be applied in each project. Okay, so there's several different characteristics of application in different projects. Is that correct? Yeah, and I said applying all 7 principles into the project is not appropriate. Oh, okay. You should choose which part should be applied, but which part should not be applied among the 7 principles. Oh, okay. If I can elaborate the questions a little bit more, which principles do you think is most important for housing projects? Housing. Difficult question. But it depends on the what kind of housing. It's a multi-family housing, or single family housing, or a single residence, or family residential, or it's an urban house or rural house or something. So everything is different. Yeah. Okay, so probably the best way to see which principles that is more suitable to our project is by looking at the users that are going to use the housing. Would that be? Yeah, so you should not think the principle at the first, because if you want to apply the principle from the beginning, it will restrict your freedom of your design. Oh, I see.
But after finishing the design, you can find out, oh, this part is satisfied this principle, and this part is satisfied this principle. Okay.
Okay. Very good explanation by Kawauchi Sensei. Maybe I will translate it first before coming to Ikaputra Sensei. Jadi menurut Kawauchi Sensei, tidak bisa kita menerapkan begitu saja seluruh prinsip desain itu di seluruh project dengan sama gitu. Jadi kita perlu memilah-milih dulu, mungkin misalnya housing atau residential project, kita perlu melihat itu rumah digunakan untuk siapa dulu. Jadi siapa penggunanya, apa kebutuhan penggunanya, dan apabila kita terburu-buru menerapkan sejak awal, bisa jadi universal design principles malah bisa membatasi kreativitas kita atau tuntutan kebutuhan ruang yang lain. Jadi kita bisa buat dulu, kemudian kita sesuaikan, kita cek lagi mana bagian-bagian yang perlu disesuaikan dengan prinsip universal design, tergantung dari siapa penggunanya. Okay, maybe Ikaputra Sensei would like to elaborate on the answer.
I think Kawauchi Sensei have been already answered very good, and I also add some. Maybe I just want to understand this question. The public facility. There is a dimension on private and public things. Public facility should be considered many people's as universal as possible. But when you going into the residential project, so Kawauchi Sensei also asking in which part. So if you going into more on the private part, then maybe it's have related to the specific individual family who live in residential. So, but in some extent, dimension and others may be same in between the how people wheelchairs should move in a certain space dimensions, but maybe if you have a different problem on grabbing the features inside the private house, then you can adapt it by yourself. This is private space and public space as far as concerned. Jadi mungkin sebenarnya saya mungkin perlu tahu juga pertanyaannya apakah itu terkait dengan residen sebagai rumah privat atau sehingga dikantorkan dengan public facilities atau bukan. Kalau iya berarti sebenarnya di rumah itu ada hal-hal yang spesifik bagi family yang mungkin bisa didesain secara baik sehingga kalau ada tamu pun bisa mengakomodasi. Tapi kalau facilities itu definitely harus bisa begitu.
Okay, thank you Ikaputra Sensei for the answer. Makes it more clear for everyone. Okay, and then the next question is from Mr. Jundi Salahuddin. Mr. Jundi has a request to deliver the question in person. So Mr. Jundi, if you can turn on your microphone, you can read your questions to Kawauchi Sensei and Ikaputra Sensei.
Can my voice be heard clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bu Bella and Pak Ika. My name is Jundi. I finished my study in UGM in 2017 and have developed interest in urban design and design for humanity. And I'm very keen to further my study in the field. First of all, I wanted to give a little bit of context to my question. As we all know very well, Japan and Indonesia has a lot of difference. Japan, for one, has more than 60% of its population using public transportation. This includes people in the countryside where public transportation is minimum. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, even in Jakarta, which the public transportation system is considered to be the best in the country, only has around 20% of its population who use public transport to commute. This, of course, includes architects and urban designers, which I believe affects our way of thinking in creating a universal and walkable design. My question is, much like Pak Ika's project, where people use blindfold or wheelchair in order to understand how disabled people feel, in order to truly understand how it feels to be a pedestrian and to design a walkable city, is it necessary for architects and urban designers, especially in developing countries, to commute using public transport rather than private vehicle, not only once or twice, but as much as we can? Thank you very much.
Kawauchi Sensei?
So for me, it sounds not a question. It's his opinion, and I agree with him. Observing the behavior of various people is very good for designers. So in order to observe the people moving with the public, not each vehicle, is also a very good experience. Is it the answer of his question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Mas Jundi, boleh tanya?
Iya, monggo Pak.
Dulu ikut aksesibilitas lingkungan kah?
Iya Pak, saya ikut kelasnya Pak Ika.
Ditutup matanya juga toh?
Iya.
Ya, sayangnya kali ini kami nggak bisa melakukan karena pandemi, tapi nggak tahu kalau the rest of time ini teman-teman yang ikut mata kuliah itu bisa hadir di kampus pakai kursi roda ditutup matanya, karena itu one of the best way to give knowledge how people using wheelchairs itu punya kesulitan apa, have what kind of difficulties. If you have a blindfold and put it on your eyes and you can keep within 1 hour, so you can understand how the blind people understood environment. So I think Kawauchi Sensei, Jundi is graduated from our university and maybe have already 3 years or 5 years ago, and he also take the on accessibility, environmental accessibility, and I think in the time we give simulation exercise as maybe Japan and also Asia Pacific doing the same thing, and how the wheelchair users, if I pretend to be wheelchair user or pretend to be a blind person, understand the difficulties and how they have to behave. So I think it is good. Thank you, Mas Jundi, about your opinion.
Ya baik, terima kasih Pak Ika. Itu pengalaman yang sangat luar biasa waktu itu. Jadi memang benar-benar kita harus merasakan pengalamannya pengguna gitu ya Pak Ika ya. Termasuk ketika kita ingin menciptakan suatu walkable city, artinya kita juga harus punya pengalaman sebagai seorang pejalan kaki di kota tersebut gitu ya Pak Ika ya.
Yeah, Jundi gave explanation when he was in our department and using wheelchairs, and then understand how the walkability in the city should be improved because of the problem of wheelchairs and so on. It's good to understand. It's good us to understand how people with disabilities problems by simulation exercise. Thank you.
Okay, thank you Ikaputra Sensei, Jundi, and Kawauchi Sensei. So maybe we can move to the next question.
Nabila, there is a question for Kawauchi Sensei from Yuel.
Yeah, I will read the question from Yuel, or probably Mr. Yuel would like to deliver the questions yourself. Or maybe I can just read the questions. I hope you don't mind. Okay, so this is the questions from our student, Kawauchi Sensei. He's wondering if the universal design principles, especially the circulation, can be applied for projects with limited space. Is it possible, and how is the strategy to apply circulation requirement in limited space projects? Thank you.
Difficult question. Actually, the space issue is always a headache. However, if you allow me to say the ideal opinion, how to prevent to occur the circulation or space problem is the key of the design. So for example, in a small area, if they build some buildings, maybe the area of aisle is very limited. But before getting into such a situation, how to prevent such situation is the very important thing on design. Can you make sense what I'm saying?
Is that how to prevent the limited space?
Okay. If you think this is for example, in the case of building, if you think the room is here and aisle is here, maybe you cannot get enough area for aisle. But if you think the room and aisle put together, it's a changing mind. So the question asked about the issue of space, but before how to prevent this kind of space issue occurs is a key skill of designers. Can you understand? Can you make sense?
Okay, I think I got your point. So it's actually depend on probably it's depend on how we prioritize the room organization. Would that be correct? So if we can from the beginning we don't limit the space for the aisle, then it's not going to be limited. Is that an approach to that?
Maybe I will add. Maybe I will add. Kawauchi Sensei. Kawauchi Sensei, I think that mentioned about how the mindset changes. It's a creative thinking. If you have 2 rooms, it's limited. Why don't you designing the 2 rooms to function, something like that? So thinking out of the box. I think this is the idea. Maybe if I'm not wrong, Kawauchi Sensei should tell everybody. If you're only seeing 1 space, then you see only limited space. But if you see 2 space, but put it share of the function, then will be more wider of the space. So the idea is the think out of the box. If I'm not wrong. So like Kawauchi Sensei showing the experiment on a cubicle, how the door having 3 alternatives to be open, and the method of opening by folded or by things, so that people who have a big luggage can still put it on the toilet, but people can also move. So this is the thing, that limited space, but with the creative thinking. Is I'm wrong, Sensei?
I'm sorry, I'm not so sure I got what you are trying to say, but right now I'm reading the chat, and is this a question by Yoel?
Yes, it's the question by
Okay.
Yoel.
Yeah, so maybe he is now trying to design a very small limited space, and he has a trouble, he or she, I don't know, has a trouble to do that. So in a small limited space, designer think more and more. So the most interesting and most important design subject is a small house. So therefore, how to create a space in a small area is actually a skill of designer. So I think this question is not should not be asked to other people. You need to think about that, because I don't know the shape of the land, or I don't know the shape of the building. So I cannot tell you him or her the exact answer. Please think how to create the space. This is the power of design.
Oke, thank you Kawauchi Sensei. Jadi jawabannya sangat jelas ya teman-teman semua, bahwa sebenarnya semuanya kembali lagi ke creativity kita sebagai desainer, ke strategi kita sebagai desainer. Ketika kita menyadari bahwa lahannya sempit tapi ada kebutuhan tersebut, ya itu kesempatan untuk kita untuk men-challenge desain proses kita, bagaimana bisa melihat 1-2 ruang itu bukan sebagai ruang yang membatasi, tapi sebagai kesempatan untuk mengatur ulang bagaimana supaya semuanya menjadi cukup. Dan itu sudah dibuktikan Kawauchi Sensei melalui beberapa proyek. Misalnya yang diceritakan tadi adalah proyek toilet. Biasanya toilet ini nggak muat untuk taruh luggage, tapi ternyata di kasus itu muat. Dan memang membutuhkan banyak iterasi untuk menuju ke sana. Oke, thank you Kawauchi Sensei and Ikaputra Sensei. Shall we move to the next question? Okay, the next question is from Rahmat Zahrial. Rahmat Zahrial, would you like to deliver the questions yourself? Okay, then probably I can read it for you. So the question is, how can we as designer try to make people understand and care about the need for disabled people or for a universal design? Because if we have already finished our design with a lot of universal design features, but then in the end people doesn't really care about that no one will use it, then it's gonna go to kind of a waste. So how can we raise the awareness for people to care about this issue? And he had an example. For example, is in public transportation, in train, we have the special chair dedicated for pregnant women and elderly people, but oftentimes in pack hours, in the crowded hours, then a lot of people that use the train will just ignore the sign and sit in there anyway. So how can we as designer emphasize and grow the people's empathy or awareness regarding this issue? Thank you.
Okay, about the public transportation special seat, we have same problems. So I cannot say, I can say nothing about you. Even in Japan, we have a lot of discussion, and recently we have started to use certain, let's say, it's not a satisfaction, but we are someone who needs that chair, has that chair, or who needs other people's support, has a placard to show I have some disability, or I have some difficulty. It is called the Hot Heart Blockade. And I don't like this name, but anyway, our government decided this heart placard should be carried by the people who are willing to get support of other people. And also the pregnant woman also has a placard of saying, I'm a pregnant woman, and showing it to the people. But even that, many people ignore that. That is a very serious problem. So I'm sorry, I can say nothing about that. Okay. Japan is not a role model. I'm sorry.
It's already 1 or 2 steps in front of us, but still face that problem.
No, I cannot solve it. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe Ikaputra Sensei would like to add something.
Ya, kalau melihat itu sebenarnya Jepang pun mempunyai masalah, Mas Rahmat. Jadi menurut saya, kalau saya selalu mengatakan bahwa awareness sudah ada di mana-mana. Orang pasti sadar bahwa difabel atau penyandang itu harus diperhatikan, tetapi berlaku peduli secara nyata yang tidak dilakukan. Sehingga kalau saya mengatakan program, kalau 20 tahun yang lalu saya bilang awareness, iyalah, karena mereka nggak tahu. Gitu. Sekarang pasti udah tahu, maka sekarang itu sudah tidak lagi mempunyai program kesadaran, bukan. Sekarang tindakan nyata. Karena semua orang udah tahu bahwa kita harus peduli, tetapi tindakan nyata yang menunjukkan kepedulian itu yang harus kita encourage. Seperti apa saya nggak tahu juga. Kita lakukan bersama-sama. Tugas kita bareng-bareng lah. Kira-kira demikian. Kalau lihat yang ikut di sini 200 lebih, ini artinya awareness-nya luar biasa. Tinggal kita tingkatkan, do we have to do more concrete things untuk teman-teman difabel, ini yang menjadi semangat lah.
Oke, thank you Ikaputra Sensei dan Kawauchi Sensei. Jadi kalau untuk meningkatkan awareness itu PR kita bersama-sama ya. Tadi Kawauchi Sensei sempat cerita kalau di Jepang sebenarnya ada alternatif lain untuk meningkatkan lagi awareness itu dengan orang-orang yang memang membutuhkan, ibu hamil ataupun orang-orang dari komunitas difabel bisa membawa semacam plakat gitu ya. Kalau saya nggak salah mengartikan tadi, untuk dibawa dan bisa ditunjukkan kalau dia memang butuh kursi tersebut gitu dalam kasus kereta. Sebenarnya hal seperti ini saya personally juga pernah lihat ya, kayaknya di Eropa juga penerapannya seperti itu. Jadi ibu hamil bisa minta ke train station untuk pin ibu hamil dan wajib dipasang kalau dia memang mau menggunakan kursi-kursi tersebut. Ya, PR bersama dari 200 orang yang hadir. Okay. Then we have another question. I hope you still have the time to answer. Is it okay, Kawauchi Sensei? One more question.
I'm okay. Yeah.
Okay, so this question is very contextual to today's context. So someone is asking, with the recent issue for universal design in the time of global pandemic, the use of handrails, braille, lip reading, and social distance is limited. And it also limits the accessibility for disabled people. How do we tackle this problem? Probably with the mouth covering and also with the no touching policy. Do you have any insight for this?
Yeah, this is a good question. Especially the deaf people, because of everybody is wearing masks, they cannot read lips, and they have a big trouble of the communication. But some media, including the newspapers, has wrote many articles about this problem, and we are also wrote many things on the magazine or something, and to inform people that hearing impaired people has a trouble to communicate with others. But of course, removing masks is right now impossible. So instead of doing that, they need to know the effectiveness of handwriting. Or we have a cell phone, smartphone application to be able to write by finger directly on the panel, and it can be shown to the other people. So that we are introducing such kind of application, and also talking about the importance of the handwriting. So of course, the problem is not limited for the deaf people, but everybody has a problem. So the important thing is that to inform those problems to the public. Maybe sometimes media will help us. So that is the only thing we can do. Okay.
What about the handrail?
Handrail.
We're not touching the handrail.
Yeah, but somebody needed to grab the handrail. So in Japan, many people is carrying what's the spray or a liquid to, I don't know the English, for the sanitation. So such kind of individual protection is the only way. And of course, businesses are cleaning more frequently than before, but I don't think how much it can be effective. It is effective. I'm sorry, this is not a good answer.
Sensei, maybe I will try to give more context to my questions.
Yeah.
If I may. Well, as I stated before, the global pandemic has been a problem for us, even normally able people, and it's even more difficult for disabled people, because I also have friends from hearing impaired from the people, and they have developed a transparent mask for more easy communicating. But maybe we as an architect, we see everywhere that there's already change in the design, physical designs in buildings, like hand sanitizer and touchless sensor for lift and etc. Is there any, with the changes in physical architectural design in this time of global pandemic, do we also have another issue for universal designs? Maybe in short, do you yourself, Sensei, have found some issues, some new ways of problem solving universal designs in time of global pandemic? Thank you.
Okay. I'm not so sure my answer is satisfied for you, but for example, in the toilet, automatic mechanism is more used than before. For example, for the wheelchair accessible room, many rooms has an automatic door, and the flash button is automatic. And also in the housing, recently some housing design started to install the wash basin at the entrance hall of the house, so that people can wash their hand when they arrive at their house. Such kind of change is happening, but basically it does not influence the design philosophy. Do you make sense what my answer?
Yes, I can get the gist of it, Sensei.
I'm sorry, I cannot get it.
Yes, I understand most of it, Sensei.
Oh. Okay, thank you. Sorry, this is not a satisfactory answer.
It's okay. Even at a time like this, we as an architect still trying to adapt to the new pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to give a chance for Ikaputra Sensei if you would like to add answer to this question.
No, I think the pandemic gave us a challenge to design related to the people with disabilities and us. So I think still ongoing problem. So I think, as Kawauchi Sensei say, even I cannot answer because we now experience the same states, same problem, but also same challenge to design for people.
Okay, so it's something that is still going on, and maybe it's best to hope that if any of us have the solution to that, then we can share it to the world, and probably we can work towards it, towards a better answer together. Just like what Kawauchi Sensei said, it's always evaluation, assessment, and improvement in the next project. Ya, oke. Jadi untuk pertanyaan terkait pandemi, di mana kita tidak bisa menyentuh handrail atau terbatas dengan masker, sebenarnya kita bisa memanfaatkan banyak teknologi yang ada di sekitar kita, misalnya handphone, gitu ya, untuk mencatat apa sih yang sebenarnya ingin kita bicarakan dan ditunjukkan pada orang lain. At least itu satu cara untuk mengatasi secara immediate sekarang. Tapi terkait dengan handrail dan hal-hal yang berkaitan dengan sentuhan fisik, memang masih harus kita figure out bersama, dan kalau memang teman-teman besok ada solusi, mari kita share dan improve untuk develop ke depannya. Okay, Kawauchi Sensei and Ikaputra Sensei, that has been a very lively discussion session. I think we have answered all the questions that we have in the chat box. Now probably I would like to offer to the participant if anyone would like to ask the last questions. Maybe
there is a last question, Nabila, from you.
From me? Thank
From
you.
you. From you. From you.
Oh, from you. From you. Is there any question that I have missed? I think we have answered the questions from you, Ikaputra Sensei.
For the case for Indonesian Kampung.
I believe Kawauchi Sensei already read that when he answered the question.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you.
Okay. So anyone else would like to add another question? Probably I would like to over to our colleagues, the lecturer, the other senseis from Architecture Study Program. Perhaps if anyone would like to ask something. No, not for now. Okay. To Mr. Hari Kurniawan, as I understand that you are already, you are also one of the practitioner in universal design. Would you like to add something or ask something?
Oh, yeah. Maybe if I can ask something to Sensei, in the one of the principle of universal design is there's a concern about the culture, Sensei, the culture as a part of what you have to think about when you design something. Maybe it's also related to, maybe more related to product, but in the case of the a big project like the airport design that did in Japan, and it is internationally will be used by many people from various cultures. Do you think that the different culture will make the universal design more successful, or maybe it's the question, it's because mostly the survey, the focus group discussion, it's did among the Japanese people. It is also limited the successful of the universal design in the airport design or public, international public buildings, let's say.
This is a very difficult question. For example, in Japan, before this pandemic, the foreign visitor from foreign countries are raising rapidly. So we are required to change our signage, usable for every language. But of course, it's impossible. If we make an expression by every language, it's impossible. So we started to use the cell phone, smartphone, to use for the multi-language purpose. And also we started to think the most effective way is easy Japanese. So there is a very good study how much easy Japanese is understood by foreign country people, and we found this is effective. So such kind of study and practice is they're very important to improve their culture issue. And also right now, I have a trouble of the restroom, especially gender-free restroom. In a Muslim society, usually it is not accepted. So this is a very basic issue of the culture. So we need to, I cannot say the things available for everywhere is sometimes impossible, but we need to discuss with different culture. That is what I can say, the only thing. Do you make sense?
Yeah, yeah, I get it, Sensei. Okay, thank you for the answers. Yeah, thank you, Bu Nabila.
Okay, thank you, Kawauchi Sensei and Ikaputra Sensei. Now that the time has already on 3:40, I guess it's time for us to wrap up the discussion. It has been a very lively discussion and very good lecture from Kawauchi Sensei and also from Ikaputra Sensei. But before we end the session, I would like to read some of the keynotes that I have taken. And I will read it in Indonesian and English so that if I say something wrong, probably Kawauchi Sensei can correct me so that everyone has the same understanding. Okay, so
Nabila,
yeah.
Nabila, can I add one thing at the end?
Oh yes, please.
Okay. I think many participants today is a student, and I'm talking about the example of a Japanese student. Many students can read the books and can get the information through internet, but sometimes they forget to meet the real person. The problem occurs in real society, and many people with disabilities has their own unique experience and their own unique solution. So therefore, meeting various people is very important. Please do not forget there are various users in this society. That is my last word.
Okay, very excellent points that you add there, Kawauchi Sensei. Jadi untuk teman-teman semua, kita memang berkaca dari pengalaman Kawauchi Sensei dalam mengajar students di Jepang juga. Kadang kita sudah membaca semua buku, membaca semua teori, tapi kita lupa untuk bertemu orang yang benar-benar mengalami, yang benar-benar berada di kelompok orang-orang difabel, karena itu sangat penting gitu. Semua orang punya pengalamannya sendiri dan mungkin mereka juga punya solusinya sendiri yang unik. Jadi kalau kita bertemu, kita mungkin bisa mendapatkan banyak insight dan bisa membantu kita untuk menerapkan itu secara lebih nyata. Begitu. Jadi jangan lupa untuk turun ke lapangan dan bertemu dengan orang-orang yang memang akan kita wadahi dalam desain tersebut. Okay, now move on to the resume. So there are several key points that we can all learn from today. The first one is universal design is designed for all, but it's not necessarily one design for all. And it's all depending on how we can develop our creativity to create a design that is adjustable and also sensitive to the user that we are designing for. As an example here, the creativity that strikes me the most is like how we can use color contrast as an effective tool to deliver the message in a very humble way. Jadi yang pertama, universal design adalah desain untuk semuanya, tapi bukan berarti satu solusi desain itu bisa berlaku untuk semuanya. Itu sangat menantang kreativitas kita, bagaimana kita bisa merancang sebuah desain yang adjustable, sensitif, dan juga sesuai konteks dengan user yang akan kita layani. Misalnya contohnya tadi yang menarik adalah penggunaan warna, bahwa warna bisa digunakan sebagai tool yang sangat efektif untuk kita bisa deliver message kita ke orang-orang secara efektif dan sederhana serta mudah dipahami. And then the second point is that improvement is very important. User satisfaction level is not something that can happen immediately. It will grow over time. Therefore, we need to do continuous effort to improve the quality of our design through a continuous loop of execution, evaluation, and assessment that is applied to our projects continuously. Jadi yang kedua, improvement atau perbaikan secara berkelanjutan itu sangat penting, bahwa kepuasan terhadap desain itu bukan sesuatu hal yang langsung instan bisa kita dapatkan. Seiring berjalannya waktu, kita terus melakukan loop dari evaluation, execution, dan assessment, kita akan terus bisa meningkatkan kualitas desain kita di setiap proyeknya. And then the third point is learning from the case of Japan. Government role is important, as a greater project in terms of size requires a lot of effort, as in the example of Central Airport in Nagoya. Kawauchi Sensei mentioned that it requires more than 100 meetings. So it's very important if we can if we can raise the involvement of government in the project. Jadi yang ketiga adalah peran pemerintah itu sangat penting untuk proyek-proyek berskala besar, misalnya untuk proyek airport di Nagoya yang diceritakan Kawauchi Sensei itu pun butuh lebih dari 100 meeting ya, jadi kita tidak bisa bekerja sendiri dan melibatkan pemerintah bisa menjadi salah satu kunci untuk implementasi di proyek skala besar. And then the last point is that there are many hands-on experiments that is required to study the people's experience in terms of universal designs. It takes time, it takes cost, but then it needs to be done, and it's important as it is done for the raise of our dignity, as universal design is for the dignity of people. Jadi yang poin terakhir memang Kawauchi Sensei juga sudah memberikan contoh bahwa pembelajaran mengenai universal design itu membutuhkan waktu, membutuhkan biaya, tapi itu semua worth it, harus kita perjuangkan karena universal design itu semata-mata kita lakukan untuk meningkatkan dignity atau meningkatkan harkat dan martabat dari kemanusiaan itu sendiri. Okay, I think that's the points that we can all learn from today. Probably Kawauchi Sensei or Ikaputra Sensei would like to add one or two things to the resume.
Oh, I have nothing to add. Thank you very much.
Ikaputra Sensei.
Arigatou gozaimashita. Onaji desu.
Okay, thank you very much, Kawauchi Sensei and Ikaputra Sensei. I think we can conclude the session for this afternoon. It has been very insightful, and I thank you very much. And I believe also all the participants are very thankful for the time and experience that you have shared with us. It's very valuable, and we hope we can all work together towards the improvement and a broader application of universal design. Okay, I think now it's time for me to pass on the time to Patu as the master of ceremony of this event. Patu, if I can return the stage to you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Bila. What a great lecture and intense discussion. Terima kasih sekali lagi untuk Bu Bila yang sudah membantu kami sebagai moderator pada webinar siang hari ini. We also would like to say thank you to Mr. Kawauchi and Mr. Ikaputra for the great presentation and new insights for us. We do hope that we can get the advantages as much as we can from the presentation and the webinar itself. Saya ingin mengingatkan sekali lagi bagi peserta yang belum mengisi presensi pada siang hari ini, dipersilakan untuk mengakses link tertera di kolom komentar. Terima kasih. And before we close the event, I would like to ask everyone to turn on the camera because we will take a group photo session. The photo will be taken for every slide, and we have about 10 slides, so you may pause for a moment. Bagi para peserta, kami mohon untuk menyalakan kamera untuk sesi foto siang hari ini. Kami akan capture secara beruntun untuk semua slide, jadi silakan untuk berpose beberapa saat. Okay, I think everyone is ready. So the photo for first slide will be taken in 3, 2, 1. Lalu selanjutnya untuk slide kedua, 3, 2, 1. Slide ketiga, 3, 2, 1. Slide keempat, 3, 2, 1. Slide kelima, 3, 2, 1. Slide ke-6, 3, 2, 1. Slide ke-7, 3, 2, 1. Slide ke-8, 3, 2, 1. Slide ke-9, 3, 2, 1. Dan selanjutnya slide terakhir, 3, 2, 1. Oke, sekali lagi kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada pembicara, moderator, Bapak Ibu dosen, dan peserta yang hadir pada siang hari ini. Saya Patu Jaditra memohon maaf atas ketidaknyamanan dalam acara pada siang hari ini. Sampai jumpa di webinar series berikutnya.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kawauchi Sensei, Ikaputra Sensei.
Thank you, Kawauchi Sensei, Hari Kurniawan Sensei, Nabila Sensei.
どうもありがとうございます。先生、Thank you, Sensei. Kawauchi
Thank you
Sensei
very
and
much.
Ikaputra Sensei.
Thank you.